February the 9th. I feel like today our menagerie needs another addition. Meet Helen the monkey. Professor Weisskranz blinded her by removing the visual cortex. The only thing I can bring up in his defense is that it happened in 1972. His assistant, Professor Humphrey, had a question though. Was Helen really blind? Because you see, she shouldn't have been. Mammals have two main pathways from the eye to the brain that developed at different evolutionary stages. The one that developed later leads to the visual cortex, but the evolutionary older one, still the only visual system used by fish, frog and reptiles, ends in the optic tectum in the midbrain. Helen had been robbed of her visual cortex, but the optic tectum was still intact. So, if a frog could see, if a fish could see, if a snake or crocodile could see using only the optic tectum, why not Helen? A lot of peanuts and pieces of apples later, it turned out Helen could see. But something wasn't quite right with this eyesight, or blindsight as the phenomenon is known today. It was highly dependent on her emotional state, failing her when she was, for example, frightened or upset, when she stumbled around like she was blind. Of course, Helen couldn't tell them about the experience, so the good doctors found a patient, DB, whose connection from one eye to the visual cortex had been damaged in a surgery to remove a tumor. It took some persuasion, but he humored the good doctors and submitted to some tests. Though DB was officially blind on this one eye, what he considered wild guesses about what was shown to him on his blind side were correct. Questioned on it later, he remarked that whatever had led to these results, it hadn't been him. It hasn't been his doing. It had come from somewhere outside of him. So, other than this being very fascinating, how does it relate to the things I usually talk about here? Reality, consciousness, and the stories with which we build reality. There's a straight line here. Perception is not sensation. Or in other words, perceiving something is not being conscious. You see, objectively, DB's vision system perceived the, let's say, red apple. But simply the sight of the red apple had no meaning to him. His brain discarded the data. There could be a discussion here to be had if the signal would lead DB to grab the apple unconsciously if he were, for example, starving. But since I'm interested in how we build our conscious reality, here is not the place for this discussion. What's interesting for us from this experiments, visual data, or any other data collected by our senses for that matter, must become a sensation so that we consider it as coming from within us and was real because we build our reality from the inside out and not from the outside in. While both a perception and a real sensation are a form of mental representation, ideas generated by our brain, perception is about the outside world. There's something we call a red apple in front of us. By contrast, sensation is about what's happening to me because there is a red apple in front of us. If we put it in an equation, then we would say sensation or consciousness equals perception plus data or information. What's this additional data? Our opinion of objective fact. Context we add every one of us individually. These are the stories that govern us. The reason why when I stood at one side of the river at the place where I studied, I saw the German town Frankfurt, and on the other side I saw the Polish town Slubice. Not real. There is no Germany or Poland, but I saw different countries. The reason why we value things in monetary quantities. Money is not real, but we look at things and think they have a price. Believe in laws, or look at the ordinary houses and trees, cats and cars in Jerusalem and see angels, hell, and whatnot. This process goes so far that we can end up with consciousness equals perception plus data minus perception. This is a reaction of rejection and hating reality we encounter and preferring something else that is not there. This is suffering. In our daily life, but especially in democratic elections and in the democratic discourse, the participants are not asked about the truth, but about just that, our sensations and feelings. Some people might be more intelligent than others or have greater skills in certain areas, but all humans have a similar capacity to feel and to suffer, share the skill to augment reality. Therefore, all participants, all voters are given, or so it should be, a vote that's worth the same. I'm conscious, so I have a right to be heard. But what we feel and why we feel it is so often not clear to us. We are often not even aware that we have this inbuilt virtual reality goggle in our mind that has different levels of immersion. These goggles come with a button that can be twisted to adjust to the level we need. It can be used by us to lead a better life, but it can also be used by others to manipulate us, this button. So get acquainted with your goggles and how to use them. Get to know you, also known as think. Make a habit out of thinking. Make thinking a habit and a movement. Like, comment and share, and thank you as always for gifting me with a few minutes of your most precious, your lifetime.